Monday 9 a.m. And now the most important and up-to-date news at this hour from the TSN team. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell, leave your comments, and let's get started. Last night, the Russians attacked Kharkiv and Odessa regions. About 15 drones were launched at Kharkiv, 4 people were injured, and they are receiving the necessary medical assistance. This was reported by the head of the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration, Ole Sinyehubov. Houses in the private sector, warehouse buildings, garages, and passenger cars were damaged. Dozens of attack drones struck the Odessa region. Explosions were heard in the area of the city of Pivden. Local residents say they saw the aftermath of the strikes and a fire on the ground. In the morning, the region is once again under alert. A reconnaissance drone is trying to assess the aftermath of the attack. In Kherson, an elderly man was killed as a result of Russian artillery shelling. He was outside at the moment of the strike. 2 more city residents suffered explosive injuries due to an enemy drone attack. The people are in serious condition. A building of one of Kherson's churches was damaged. A Russian shell hit it during a service. Fresh explosions in Russia and the occupied territories. A thermal power plant in Bryansk region caught fire overnight. Social media reports say this happened after a missile strike. Another blackout in Belgorod. After a series of explosions, several districts lost power. Russian propagandists report a strike on a substation. And in Crimea, a fire broke out at a motor depot near Feodosia. Explosions were heard at an occupier's military base near Yevpatoria. According to preliminary information, friendly drones paid a visit there. More details in the next TSN broadcasts. The condition of the 46-year-old man who was injured as a result of the Russian strike on Lviv remains serious. He has multiple injuries. The man underwent surgery and is currently in the intensive care unit. The day before, Lviv region experienced the most massive air attack since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. In the suburbs of Lviv, an entire family was killed. 4 people, including a 15-year-old girl. The police have released footage from the first minutes after the strike. TSN correspondent Marichka Kuzik saw the aftermath with her own eyes.
Only bricks are left of the house. It was completely demolished down to the foundation. It was a residential house, a small homestead right at the exit from Lviv. An entire family was killed under the rubble in an instant. 3 adults and a 15-year-old girl. Rescuers pulled another family member out alive. He is now in the hospital. 2 more residents of neighboring houses were also hospitalized.
Our unit managed to rescue 4 people. We evacuated them from the upper floors. We also had to extract people from under the debris who ended up trapped during this attack.
This was the most powerful shelling since the beginning of the war. The Russians launched dozens of Shaheds and missiles. Some were shot down by air defense forces, but a few still made it through. Residents of the village that suffered the most say it was a night from hell.
I said, let's get out because we have hay stored upstairs. What if shrapnel hits it? What will happen? And what will happen to us? We run outside and then shrapnel starts raining down right here.
The blast wave swept further on. Dozens of houses with shattered windows, destroyed roofs and broken doors. In the morning, people cover their windows with plastic film to at least offer some protection for their homes.
At least these doors survived, thank God. Some of the windows are still intact. Take a look at the hostel, check everywhere.
For those who have nowhere to stay, well, I've already put up 3 people from Kharkiv region who lived here in a hotel. The rest have relatives and so on. So far, at least, no one else has asked for help.
At the same time, the Russians also struck industrial and energy facilities in the region. In Lviv, warehouses, garages, a service station and energy infrastructure facilities were damaged. An industrial park caught fire. This is a civilian facility with no military purpose. Debris also damaged a school and a kindergarten. Fragments of rockets and drones are still being found in the outskirts of the city. People are asked not to touch them and to immediately inform the police. Marichka Kuzik, Andriy Popovich, Lviv region, TSN. 1+1.
An enemy drone deliberately crashed into a civilian car in Kherson. In the video from the Russian drone, you can clearly see the operator attacking a civilian car driving along the road with many apartment buildings nearby. The Russians are once again using civilians in Kherson to train their soldiers. There was no miracle. In the elections in the Czech Republic, the party of former Prime Minister and billionaire Andrej Babiš won. The Action of Dissatisfied Citizens Party, led by Babiš, received 34.5% of the votes. The party of the current Prime Minister, Petr Fiala, came in second with 23%. Observers write that a change of government in the Czech Republic could move the country into the same group as Slovakia and Hungary, which would call into question support for Ukraine and many pan-European initiatives. Andrej Babiš, who is even being predicted to become prime minister, is a person with a controversial reputation. He is considered a populist. The politician has been involved in scandals related to tax evasion, corruption, and fraud with EU funds. Regarding the war in Ukraine, Babiš takes a supposedly peacekeeping stance. He advocates for reducing support for Ukrainian refugees. Mass protests with clashes erupted in Georgia after the local government elections. According to the Central Election Commission, representatives of the ruling Georgian Dream Party won in all cities and municipalities. The opposition boycotted the vote. Protests broke out a few hours before the polling stations closed. The protesters marched to the parliament and then to the presidential palace. They demanded the overthrow of the current government and the release of political prisoners who were arrested after last year's protests. Eventually, the protesters tore down the fences and tried to enter the residence's courtyard. Clashes broke out. Special forces used tear gas and water cannons. There are injured and detained individuals. The president of Georgia considers the protesters' actions a provocation. Meanwhile, the prime minister claims that foreign intelligence agencies are behind the protest.
Of course.
An entire family perished in a fire in the Kyiv region. The tragedy occurred in the village of Protsiv, Borispil district. Rescuers arrived at night to extinguish a fire in a residential building. At the scene of the fire, the bodies of a 37-year-old man and his two sons, aged 6 and 7, were found. The causes of the fire are being determined. You are watching TSN and everything you need to know at this hour. A reminder, to make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell. And now I will continue with the news. A preventive measure in the assault case. Alexander Kilik, the cyclist and driver of the Mercedes, has been taken into custody for 30 days without the right to post bail. The decision was made by the Podilsky District Court of Sud Kyiv. During the hearing, the suspect explained that he left the scene because his wife was feeling unwell. And there were other people nearby who called an ambulance for the victim. Kilik parked his car in the bike lane, for which he was reprimanded by a passing cyclist. Then the driver attacked the man and started beating him until he lost consciousness.
A preventive measure in the form of detention in the Kyiv pretrial detention center without bail was set for a period of 30 days. That is until the 31st, starting from 2025. The court decided to extend the measure for another 30 days, starting from the second year, and it will last until the 31st year.
Participants of the rally, which took place over the weekend in several cities of Ukraine, are calling not to forget about those who are currently in Russian captivity. On one of Kyiv's avenues, the relatives of prisoners, those who have already been freed from enemy prisons, and simply concerned citizens came out with cardboard posters. Such events have been taking place in the country for the second year now. Their goal is to make sure no one forgets that thousands of Ukrainians, both military and civilians, remain in Kremlin prisons. Participants of the rally say that despite prisoner exchanges now happening almost every month, the Russians continue to hold, among others, fighters who were captured 3.5 years ago. This refers to the defenders of Mariupol and the Chernobyl nuclear power plant.
People have very short memories. They need to be constantly reminded to remember those who are still not with us, who are there enduring hellish torment. And secondly, since I myself was in captivity, I believe that they can feel that we care about them, because every day there they are told, no one needs you, no one wants to take you back, no one wants to exchange you. We never believed any of that, and I'm sure the guys don't believe it either.
It's been almost 2 months since they're not home. Our next story is about Kyiv residents who are forced to rent housing. Now, their home in Vidradny stands empty after one of the most devastating air raids on the capital on July 31st. In total, there are more than 50 high-rise buildings in Kyiv that need to be rebuilt. TSN correspondent Irina Kondrachuk continues.
Every building has boarded-up windows. The lives that once bustled in most of these apartments are now on an indefinite pause.
The building will be restored, but no timeline has been given. They said it won't be quick.
So how long will it take? And what should you expect if, according to the results of the structural assessment, your building has been diagnosed as needing major repairs?
I want to go home so badly I can't even put it into words.
This high-rise, like the neighboring ones, has endured many attacks. Just over this summer alone.
We go through this constantly because Shaheeds keep flying over.
But at dawn on July 31st, an enemy projectile hit the building. It pierced the roof and destroyed several floors. 6 people died in their apartments.
We get calls and people say, well, where are you going? You don't have a home anymore. Like, you don't even need to come anymore.
Anna and her mother were returning from a business trip on their own. Their apartment survived, but it was all cracked, while the neighboring ones were completely burned out.
The epicenter was right in the middle of the building. These apartments, all 4 of them, are completely destroyed.
The building is still sealed off for now, but the neighboring ones are sometimes left without windows and with holes in the roofs. But people still live in them.
The rainy season has started. Residents of the 5th floor are having problems. It's already leaking in.
Sockets taped over with plastic and constantly damp wallpaper. This is what the walls look like in Lyudmila's apartment, who lives on the top floor. There won't be any more electricians or repairmen.
If the rain continues, it will reach the 1st floor. We can't afford to wait.
Their neighbors from the house across the street are patching up their own roof themselves using advertising banners.
They promised to restore our roof by December 30th, but whether they will or not, we don't know. Same goes for the heating. The housing office said that as long as there's no roof, we won't have heating. If there's no heating, our building is done for.
Already on the Facebook page of the head of the Solomiansky District Administration, we find a table listing the addresses of all the damaged buildings in the district. It states here that, according to the plan, the roofs of both 5-story buildings will be repaired this fall.
In total, there were about 100 roofs with such problems. We've already done 50, and we'll finish the other 50 by December 1st.
The head of the district explains the procedure for restoring apartment buildings. It's a lengthy bureaucracy, which they're trying to bypass during the replacement of roofs and windows here, thanks to the city's reserve fund and the help of benefactors. In the best case, just preparing the paperwork usually takes months, especially when it comes to reconstruction. Previously, it was mandatory to follow a strict sequence of actions. First, the city would organize a technical inspection of the building to understand exactly what was wrong with the damaged structures, which ones could be kept and which could not. Only after that would they order the project documentation for the building's restoration. That would take several more months. And only then would they hold a tender to select a contractor. But in August, officials simplified the process somewhat.
The local government body received a tool that allows preparatory processes, which precede the actual construction work, to be carried out in parallel.
So now all these steps can be done simultaneously to reduce bureaucracy and speed up the start of reconstruction. But this applies exclusively to dormitories and apartment buildings. The lawyer emphasizes this.
The main point of the resolution is that it's more about making the state apparatus, specifically officials, local authorities, and so on, do all this a bit faster, to make them implement a bit more quickly the very rules they write for themselves.
The average cost to restore one apartment building is 45 to 50 million hryvnias, according to calculations by the relevant ministry. There are at least 2,200 such buildings across Ukraine. According to the KMVA, 76 of them are in Kyiv and 8 are already being rebuilt. Iana and her neighbors dream that their building on Vidradny will be taken up as soon as possible.
We will definitely truly come back here because this is my own home.
Right now, the project documentation is being prepared, which will allow us to see the scale of funding needed to restore the building. According to forecasts from the Housing Department, restoration work is expected to begin at the start of next year.
How exactly things will turn out, considering possible attacks, the Sula District Administration doesn't know, but they plan to connect all the buildings in the area to heating by the start of the heating season, except for the entrances that are awaiting major repairs. Irina Konrychuk, Volodymyr Ostabenko, Andriy Marchenko, Anatoly Korop, and Natalia Stelmak. TSN 1+1.
Rain, drizzle, and mild warmth. Meteorologists predict that the new week in Ukraine will start with wet and cloudy weather. The temperature will not change significantly. During the day, it will be up to 15 degrees in the north and center and up to 20 degrees in the south. That's all for now. I'm wrapping up this edition, but TSN doesn't stop. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the most important news. Have a successful and easy work week.